Hello everyone and welcome to another TMM review series where we review the performances of the tournaments that are taking place during the last week. And today we're having the runner-up and the winner of the last Fight Night EU. We have Mezume and zTurtlee. How are you doing, guys? How are you feeling?
Doing well.
Hey.
Doing well.
Doing very well.
Quoting you, Mezume, it's good to be in the money because we discussed about it before the interview. It's good to be in the money. You are actually a regular for Fight Nights. How do you manage to do it? How do you manage to be so consistent?
I just high roll the first two games, and then you're already top 3, so you just have to win one, and you're through. But no, I just bring good decks or target the right deck, and then win. It's a pretty chill format, so I think it's way easier to target something because people don't put as much thought into their lineups as they would into a 3-deck 1-ban format. So it's just a bit easier to guess what people are gonna play, I think.
How about you, Turtle? How does it feel to get your first win? You have been trying before, but this is your first win. How does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was easy to read, and I thought everyone would bring Fizz TF, and I thought I had solid lineup, and then no one brought Fizz TF, and there was so many unique decks, and oh god, I managed to get through. A Giga salesman just carries me.
Yeah, we're going to go over that a little bit later because the first deck we're going to discuss about is the Shurima midrange. And my first question was before the interview and even now, how the hell did you end up with this?
So about like one day before deck submission, I got beat up like 3 or 4 times by the same guy playing this deck. Well, basically it was like Pentant Squire, then every time Challenger Sivir on 4, I was just gone every time. So I tried to recreate the deck, but I really failed. And like, I think, so the submission deadline is at 5 p.m. for me. At 3 p.m., Cephalopod posted a tweet with a list. I just snatched that off, sent it to Crockeye for deck submission. I was like, okay, I guess that should be TLC, so I'll be fine. And I just put it in there. And actually, then I realized like the list wasn't that refined. And there were way too many cards that I would change if I had the time, but it worked out well. So,
What would you change in this list that we're looking at?
you know the 2-drop Honored Lord, the elite
Yes.
2-drop, like that. Like I'm running Pentant Squire that requires an elite in hand, and I have a total of 6 elites in the deck. It's like it's actually a really bad version. So don't copy this one. Change it. But
No.
it worked out. It's I think any Demacia deck that has sort of beefy dudes is gonna beat TLC, and that was the goal for the fight night. So
And if you do
it
copy
worked out in
that,
the end.
make sure you high roll.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, did you get to play? You said that you submitted the list very, very late. Did you get to play a few games and see how the deck feels, or did you just straight up took it into Fight Night and get second place?
I played it in the morning of the fight night. It's not a difficult deck, right? Like it's a Demacia deck. You just play on curve, a rally when you have a big enough board, and you win.
Right, Turtle. How did you feel when you saw this nonsense?
Because I played Mezu twice, and the first time I didn't get to see this deck, and I was devastated. Like when I looked at all the lists, this deck got me the most excited, just because it was something different, like something like very different and very mid rangey, and like I put like Radiant Guardians in my scouts and like all sorts of nonsense sometimes as like a one off. So seeing Demacia mid range sort of slowly come back makes me happy.
I guess just build different. But let's move onwards to the next list that Mezume has brought, and this one is going to be Nightfall Invoke. And I have seen this trend for the Invoke list to go more into the Nightfall part. Do you think that it is due to the Onto Dusk card that has been released for them as support?
Yeah, definitely. It's also, I think it's a bit better into aggro overall to have Diana on curve as opposed to Zoe. Just because for Zoe to do anything, you have to hit either the right invoke that you already paid 2 mana for, or you have to get her to level, which you probably don't have time for against aggro, and Diana is much better into those decks, and it just also makes the deck way faster. So with Onto Dusk, Diana deals 4 or 5 extra damage just if you proc it on anything. So it's super simple to just, get like a 10-12 attack Diana and win the game on the spot. That's what I did in one of the games, I think against Hollow. So it feels really good to play this version. And it's like this middle ground between going for aggro Nightfall and Invokes, because this has much more explosive turns. It's not really a control deck like Invokes are.
And did you get the time to refine it, or is this another list that you picked up in the morning of the tournament and just
No. This one I've been playing with Shihu's version from like the whole week, basically. He got masters with like an even faster Nightfall version. I played around with that. I felt it was a bit too fast for me. I wanted to make it a bit slower. I put some star shapings in. And then I saw Haneke play around with a similar version, so I took a bit of an idea from him as well. And then I ended up with this one, which is almost identical to Haneke, I think. So this one I actually have lots of practice on, and I was pretty sure I was going to bring in the whole week.
While looking at the list, it looks pretty interesting because you're running not one copy but 2 copies of Moonlight Affliction, 1 Atrocity and 1 Withering Well. I think these are the most interesting decks, if I can call them like this. Why did you change the list to have these cards in these specific proportions?
So Moonlight Affliction silences 2 elusives, not just 1, which is great against FistTF. Withering Whale kills every Daring Poro and non-iterative Verbal Fish, which is great against FistTF. So yeah, I wanted to be better against FistTF, and it worked out. I think I won the only game I had against FistTF with the deck. So.
Great. Turtle, did you get to experience such a list, or did you get to play with such a list, or was this actually the first time that you got to play against such a list?
This list gives me nightmares because of Dustbringer on 1 into Aphelios on turn 3 with the weapon. It happens pretty much every time apart from this fight night, and it's the worst nightmare of all time. But luckily, a lot of my decks can deal with the Sky Shadows, which is the 2-drop you get. So obviously, it wasn't too big of an issue. I knew coming into it that an evoke deck like this would need like a Star Shaping Wincon to have much of a chance. And I also included It That Stares in case Temple gets too much.
And do you think, while playing against this version, do you think that the Aphelios nerf matters for you? Do you feel more secure playing against it, or is it just the same old Aphelios that is overpowered?
Oh, 100%. Like the Aphelios nerf makes this matchup a lot better, like a lot worse into TLLC. Every board player you can think of that's a board wipe is 1 to 2 damage, and then you can always deal another 1 to 2 damage whenever. So it forces people to play Aphelios with protection, and as well as you just got to respect the damage potential of Diana, and you should be fine. I feel like a lot of people see this list and think Diana's at the weak point in the deck until an on-2 Dusk come down and they smack for like 6 damage or something.
You have been mentioning TLLC, and that list I have been naming Tender Loving Caring because it's such a great name for it. I do not think there is a greater name for it. Why did you bring this list? Is this just the cool kid of the meta now that everyone is bringing because it has so much potential to win?
So at the start of the new season, with the new cards and everything, is What Am I made a version of this deck. It's quite similar, and I took the deck, and that's pretty much the main deck I played for ages. No one seemed to be playing it, and then the meta sort of like just slowly just switched over TLC and like the matron version. But I was a firm believer in the Ledgerous version, and I stuck to my guts. And people underestimate cards like Revitalizing Roar and Aeons and stuff like that just can get you ahead in the matchup.
Speaking of Aeons, would you now play a list with Catalyst of Aeons or without Catalyst of Aeons, and why?
I play with, and because matron versions, if they play Catalyst of Aeons, especially like 2 or 3 of, they're sacrificing a lot of stuff already. Like they're playing Fading Memories, they're playing like all of the stuff. So the less like resources they have, the worse the deck gets. So like Catalyst of Aeons is very greedy to play a matron. And the only way you kind of win this version is getting Ledros down, because they can do the combo all they want, but it's very costly, and it means that they like, let their defenses down, and it lets Ledros finish the game quite easily.
And would you include the new addition Fading Memories in your list, or are you playing Fading Memories in your list?
I think Fading Memories is very much the matron version. If I was going to run the matron version, I like 2 of Fading Memories. I think there's at some point going to be like a refined version of the deck that might not include it. I feel like people include it because it's just nice to have with a pillar. But we'll see. We'll see how it happens over the weeks.
And now the first question is going to get back to you, Mezume. How did you feel when you saw this deck?
Oh god. I've like every single player I had on my way to finals played the TLC. And I expected that. Like I brought 2 decks that are meant to beat it if I find Temple on 4, but it's grueling to play against it. Like everything you play, just get an Avalanche down, Blighted Raven, Ravine, Ice Shard, Whale. It's awful. Like it's a horrible experience. I hate playing as a deck, but yeah, it has weaknesses. So I just try to exploit them. So on one hand, I was very happy to see it. On the other, so also this version doesn't run matrons, so it has fewer dead draws. So as aggro, I'd rather face matron than the Ledros version.
And this isn't even the final form for TLLC. But let's move forward to the last deck that Turtle has brought. We know the name and we love the name. We came up with the name. It's Aegis OTK.
Yeah, I was looking at decks, and I was like, in case I needed to have a tournament deck. This is way before I even got Fight Night. I looked at Golden Geass as the replacement for Rally, and I was just like, this card is nuts in Furish, and like, this is ridiculous. Like everyone's gonna run it, and I've just not seen it since like till recently. The deck does so well into Fizz TF. I even included extra notifiers just in case, but I didn't drop a single game with this list. It went undefeated in Fight Night, and honestly, I had no issues with it whatsoever. I feel like people have the misconception and bad mulligan that they can draw dead with this thing, where it is a possibility. It's not as common as people think.
But people might think or ask themselves, at least I'm asking myself, why Tiana as well as Triple Aegis? What is the reasoning behind? Isn't it a little bit tricky? Does it have actually a purpose? What's the reason?
So I preferred Tiana over Bright Steel Protector in this situation, because the whole point of the deck was to kind of counter aggro and counter like Fizz TF and stuff like that. So I wanted something that punishes aggro, and dropping a Bright Steel on 9 is cool, whatever. But if you get burnt out, or if you get like you're dead the next turn to elusives, like your Bright Steel formation is not going to do much. I didn't expect too many mirror matches, but I ran the extra Notify just in case to maybe minimize some of the single combats. But I just felt like Tiana with like a Cithri the Bold, or with extra challenges just secures the win. Even if I draw it on 8, I just have to sustain until turn 8, and they can't deal with Tiana whatsoever.
And is the reason that you wanted to counter aggro that you added that one of Swiftwing Lancer as well, in order to have better trades and still a body that remains on the board, and even if it doesn't remain, to get another unit?
The Swiftwing Wing Lancer was actually a counter to Trundle. Trundle's 4/5. You play it on the same turn. You challenge it with like a Shen or a barrier, and you just kill Trundle straight on the spot. When you look at Laurent Chevalier, which is the 4-drop people run, is that the challenger unit you kind of want is Swiftling Lancer. So I just thought, instead of doing the middle mana trying to get more value, I'm just going to put a Lancer in here and deal with any threats that come at it, really.
And did it help you bail out from any game, or did you get lucky by drawing it in any game?
It's just a nice value engine, because most of the elites, especially now with the extra elites and the thing, are very good. Even in some situations where you get like a 3/2, it's still quite good stats wise. So it didn't win me any games, but it's a nice value engine, and it keeps me ahead, and it's kind of like a value card.
You mentioned it's there to counter the Trundle develop, but my question is, do you really want to kill the Trundle? Because, well, that is nice, fine, and all. It also gives them the opportunity to play another Trundle and get another Ice Pillar and get closer to the Watcher win.
I mean, if they're spending an extra 5 mana on Trundle instead of clearing my board, I'm very, very happy. Aegis OTK being the name of the deck, if control decks struggle against Rally, they're going to struggle even more against Aegis, because not only do they have to pop a barrier, but they have to pop a barrier and stop an attack and clear the board. It's just too much for them. I mean, you can use this very early on even and get minimum value from it and still be so far ahead.
You mentioned you didn't expect much mirrors, but if you would have encountered a version that would have had the top end of Bristol formation, how would you feel into it, like in a mirror?
I know the cast has mentioned that I play like a more aggressive style of Fiora Shen, and that's definitely the case. My early end is a bit better. I know some people don't run like 3 Golden Aegises, some people don't run the 2 Notifies, but it'd be a case of whoever draws better, but I'd just play more aggressive in the early game because they have more dead draws and more late game that they might not be able to play yet. So I would just have to play a bit more aggressive style.
Right. Mezume, back to you. Actually, how did you feel against this list as well? You have seen TLC and then you see Fiora Shen. Don't you feel like this is what sums up the meta? If there was a 4th deck, probably it would have been FTF.
Yeah, I mean, you asking me that doesn't feel good because Turtle just beat me 2-0 twice, so I just lost straight up to both decks 2 times. But the Fiora Shen, I just knew I was gonna lose to it. My decks don't like the Shurima midrange deck relies on challengers, but I have no way to pop barriers, so he's always ahead of that. Because quick attack gets countered by barriers, and for Nightfall, I just needed to get lucky with Moonlight Afflictions or Temples and outvalue him, but it just always killed me before that could happen.
Well, that pretty much summed it up, but who knows, maybe you have more luck next time. And speaking of next time, I think they asked Turtle who would they like to invite to the tournament, but let's ask you as well, Mezume. Who would you like to see in the tournament, or who would you like to play against?
Oh god, probably someone from my prep group, right? Like, I beat Broken Ball this time. I would love to play against Sorry because he beat me last time. He got me out of my back-to-back rounds. Like, he was the reason I didn't get re-invited for the 4th time. So I have some beef with him that I need to settle.
I second that as well. He was the one that knocked me out of my last fight night as well. So we'll get Sorry next time. We'll both beat him.
Who would you actually want to see Turtle besides the persons that you have mentioned on the official cast?
Who would I want to see? I wanted to see Dinah play, and I got to play him against him first round, which was great. If I was going to ask someone else, it'd probably be Physical. I mean, people don't really know him too much. I mean, you know him for ladder and stuff like that. He's one of the UK boys, and honestly, him on ladder with unique decks and Day Here Indoors, he's an absolute like beast at the deck, and I think he'd bring something that people wouldn't expect, and it'd be someone that they don't know before. So you never know, he might sweep the whole thing.
I mean, he would bring Dehu and Jura, right? Like,
Yeah, he'd bring Day Here Indoors for sure.
I've played him so many times on ladder with that deck, like during the EU Masters qualifications. That's just all the time. The Dehu and Jura.
Physical seems like the what am I of you, always playing Endure and bringing it to Fight Night as well.
Yeah.
How many Battle Furies does he run? If he doesn't run 3, he's not a true what am I copy.
Oh god, probably. I think he runs the pure version without any. I think he just runs They Who Endure, the only Freljord card, and just has a bunch of Shadow Isle units that just kill themselves.
Right.
That's
the
how
what
they
am I
play.
brand is still safe.
Yeah, the whole my brand's still safe.
Alright, so this kind of concludes the interview, but before we close up, if you have someone that you usually prep with, if you prepped with, or someone that supports you during your matches and you want to shout out, feel free to do so. We're going to start with Mezume. Who would you like to shout out?
Of course, my entire prep group with Sorry, Coin Flip, Broken Ball. Who am I forgetting? Oh yeah, Fly is in the new edition. Who was the one who I'm forgetting, and of course Marcus. But yeah,
I think the prep group is called BBMG. What does that come from?
it's called Big Brain Mastered Group. That's because we made it when we all qualified to the Ascent of Targon qualifier. Like, the whole idea was to prep for the tournament, which pretty much went well for Marcus because he won. Not so well for me, I went 0-2. But yeah, that's just how it ended up.
Well, that's good to know. How about you, Turtle? Who helped you? Who would you like to give a shout out to?
So obviously, I gave a shout out to the Madmen, because I was asked last minute and I joined the call and I was like, guys, I need 2 decks. What do I bring? They said to bring Karma. I said no, and then we went to these 2 decks. But I get a lot of support from Jason Ferron and from Majumbe. Obviously, I do a scrim group with them. It's kind of hard. I'm the only EU person that scrims with them, so it's a bit of late night stuff. But especially when Majumbe winning seasonal and everything, it's been pretty fun to scrim with that group.
I mean, daytime you're screaming with us, the Madmen, and nighttime you're screaming with the boys on NA, and then you're sorted.
Yeah, and I get no sleep.
Alright, thank you guys for coming in. Congratulations again for the win, and you, the viewers out there, see you next time, probably even sooner than you expected. See ya.